computer. All right. So I am here with Lifeline, one of the
Hey there.
JFH heroes, a foundational JFH hero,
Thank you.
who, out of character, built the JFH Discord a few years ago,
I
has been
did.
super supportive for the community. And now we are having our first development call for the Lifeline storyline. And this is
Hello.
something that is open to the entire community. These are like Hollywood style development calls, and just so
Yeah.
that anyone who's watching, and just to reiterate a Lifeline from our conversations previously, like what development is essentially the process that happens before the script is written.
Yeah.
So it's before pre-production, production, post-production, marketing and distribution of a film or television show. You have what's called the development process. So
Yeah.
this is where you essentially brainstorm, you create a thought matrix, story bibles, outlines, etc.
Yeah.
All this happens prior to you having a script written. And I should say that this happens in the best properties. The world's best properties have great development. There's a bunch of films, that I'm not even going to name
Better.
that did not go through a development process. And and sometimes you have, when it comes to the type of storytelling that we're doing for Justice for Hire, you absolutely need this type of development process. You need the world building concepts.
Yeah.
And so again, Justice for Hire as a cinematic universe, a shared cinematic universe that we're all in, you own your character. So these are your stories. This is your character. And, you can look at what's happening with Justice for Hire really more so as a crossover for your character rather than, your character being a JFH character. You own Lifeline, and that's awesome. And same with everybody in the community, you own your characters.
Yeah.
But we cross over in this shared cinematic universe. And this is a very particular model that we've been doing, building for years through our company, Real World. And so that being said, I'd love to start this off with you and just kind of get a sense of where you've seen Lifeline before in your mind and where you'd like him to go. That's a very broad question that we'll probably spend the most of this call on.
Yeah. No, I understand. It is a really broad question, but I also think it's like probably the only one that really can get the, ball rolling. So I think I made Lifeline. I came up with that character at a different time in my life. I was a different person. I would even say I had thought that I should be following in my dad's footsteps, being, in the medical field. I thought that was what my calling was. But in reality, I've got this whole thing behind me that really shows off my passion and, the hours that I spend putting in the work, devoting to the time I devote to learning car systems, auto systems, stuff like that. It gets to me. But there is still a part of me that is almost, I feel reluctant to even change in that kind of way. This is such a drastic change when it comes from, the medical side of things, emergency medicine, to this. Like, this is something so different that I almost feel like I have to stick with the emergency medicine thing. And it's cool. And I still really enjoy that stuff. I have an entire medical kit under my cabinet made for me by my father. And I took it with me when I went to college. I brought it back home. It's an essential part of my go bag. It's something that's always going to be a part of me. But when I think of the character that I want to play, when I think of the story that I want to tell, it just doesn't seem to line up with that old vision that I had in my head. And I have like a whole backstory that I could never forget for Lifeline. He was supposed to be this kid who was angry at, his estranged dad for going out and being, going into the military and always being away from home, right? Devoting his life to medicine and saving lives. He never had time for the family, kind of thing, right? So then this guy, Lifeline, goes on to say, I'm going to do what you're doing and I'm going to do it better than you're doing. So he goes to paramedic school. He becomes a paramedic, right? So throughout his course, becoming a paramedic, being on ambulances, and doing hospital call and stuff like that, he sees, there's a lot of people coming in and out of here who have been hurt, robbed, wronged, assaulted, and he needs to do something about it. So he consults his best friend. I never came up with a name for the best friend, but he consults his best friend, and his best friend's like, hey, tell you what, this JFH thing, dude, just came out. Come try it with me. I've been doing it. Give it a shot. See how you like it. So he's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So he gives it a shot. First go. He shows up to the scene. It's this young man, and he's getting mugged, right? Lifeline is very nervous, extremely nervous, like uncharacteristically nervous for someone who would be doing this stuff, right? His buddy says, go out there, just do it. You're never going to be ready. You just need to go. So he goes out there. Lifeline goes and gets his ass kicked, absolutely demolished. And he goes to give up, but then his friend tries to reconcile this with him and goes, hey, you said you were going to do what your dad was doing. Not only was he saving lives, but he's also putting his life on the line. If you really want to put your life on the line the way he did, then I think you should follow through with this. And Lifeline has a realization where he's like, I'm going to complete my life's goal, and I'm going to do it by being a superhero. And so he, goes on to be, the rescuer, not so much the combatant, as you will, not like take down the angry organization, but more like, someone's stuck somewhere and he goes and helps them, or, someone maybe he works someone off a ledge. You know what I mean? That's the kind of hero he is. He's more of the, I kind of envision him as being the people's, almost like a Spider-Man kind of vibe, but if Spider-Man didn't, throw criminals off buildings. So
well, I mean, that's similar to Flash too. I mean, in most of my experience with reading Flash comics, not to say that I'm a huge fan of Flash, even though my son is, but I do notice
my dad is a huge Flash fan. He's a huge Flash fan.
He seems like he's got this wonderful, even though he could punch super fast if he wanted to, he's really running around and like saving people.
Yeah.
He's really like supporting a bunch of the heroes who are in battle. He's supporting them in really interesting ways. And I always appreciated that from what I've seen up to this point.
Yeah. So for Lifeline, I wanted him to not be like, only the rescuer or whatever, but he's also like a protector. You know what I mean? So when he, like I said, he saw this guy getting mugged, right? His buddy's like, dude, go right now. And something, that drive to do better is what it ultimately says, okay, I need to save this person. I need to protect this person. I need to put my life on the line. Hence Lifeline, you get it.
No, it's great. It's awesome. It's wonderfully thought out.
That's his kind of thing. So it's always, he tries to do the jobs that seem perilous to when it comes to, maybe pulling someone out of a burning building, stuff like that. That's just kind of his deal. Granted, I'm not any real life superhero. I'm definitely just a college student in his 20s, but I think at the end of the day, I feel like I reach a point where I don't know how to translate myself, how to express myself through the character and find that, it's hard to put a point on it, because I guess if I knew what I was thinking of, then I would have done it already. But it's hard to find that special little, box to check that's going to be like, yeah, this is my character. This is who I'm going to be,
So this is amazing, because I think it sounds like one of the challenges that you're having is one that I've had with my character. And so I mentioned this as an example because of the fact that my character in JFH, out of character I'm Jan, but in character I'm also Jan.
Yeah.
And because of that, I chose to do that because previously, before we rebooted the entire universe into what we're doing now, I played another character that's in the comic book. We're doing something for Free Comic Book Month or Free Comic Book Day, which is happening like every Saturday this month.
Sick.
Where I played one of the main characters in that comic book. We used to have a bunch of live action content associated with that. And the character never resonated with where I was evolving to as a person. And as a matter of fact, I found myself taking steps back to play that character, but in ways that felt unhealthy and not useful to others.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know if you could see this right here. This is my thespian plaque from when I was in thespians. But I find that extremely, extremely difficult. Playing a character that doesn't resonate with me, it's hard to be in character. It's hard to find the drive, find that mental headspace that says I am stepping into another person's body. I'm stepping into another character, and it's not just you anymore. You are almost you're actualizing the characteristics that define some piece of literature, if you will. You know what I mean? Like a story.
I do, and I think it's really interesting that I didn't realize you had the thespian training. That's fantastic.
Yeah, hold on.
That's
boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
It was a good time. I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about myself, and it was a good time. I don't know if you can still hear me.
I can still hear you. I think so. I think this is really interesting because, and I'm super happy that I found you shared that, because now we can have a conversation that I think is going to benefit everybody, even if they haven't had any acting training. But the concept is that when you have a script, when you watch a movie, let's say, actually, when you watch a movie, each character plays a note for the most part.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about movies versus TV, because it does happen in TV as well, but sometimes in television, the space is given to the characters to evolve over multiple seasons.
Yeah.
And so therefore the note that character plays might actually change across seasons.
Yeah, like playing the villain, being the antagonist or the protagonist or the supporting character.
A hero could become a villain, and is I think a really very basic but very, very important example. And when it comes to not only playing a character that resonates with yourself, but when you've created something that is essentially a vehicle for an alter ego of yourself, like these characters that we're creating are, they can be versions of our ideal self. They don't have to be, because especially if you're an actor, that you may play multiple characters. You're always bringing yourself into that character, but it doesn't necessarily mean you created that character. So we are, as a community, creating characters ourselves and then portraying them ourselves, which is very unique. So in that process, how do we reconcile true change, and how does that translate into the overall narrative that we want to tell and that we're telling together as a cinematic universe, as a shared entity? So I think that when it comes to the challenge of saying, hey, Lifeline was this, and now it sounds like, one example of your change is just the desire to surround yourself more with racing.
Dude, I feel like, look, I feel like a different person behind the wheel. It's crazy. Okay. I feel like I am on top of the world when I am behind the wheel. I feel like the best version of myself when I'm behind the wheel. So it becomes more of, it feels like denying the person I am to say that I don't like racing. Like, just the words coming out of my mouth don't feel right.
So
It's an understatement to say that I like it.
so that's super important. I think that's super amazing and super important. And I think that there's a way to there's ways to go about this. I think that one, everything that you've said about Lifeline up to this date, which you can keep or you can discard. When it really depends on you. But I think that all of it is very relevant for where you are now. And these are words that I can say to myself in a mirror, because a bunch of that previous character that I used to play backstory could still make it into the JFH canon, the current cinematic universe that we have. It could be canonical, but I don't know yet because I haven't found that bridge for myself to the previous version of me.
Yeah.
And so like the story that I've come up with for this new one, it some of it can connect, it totally can work, but I have to make it feel right here.
Yeah.
So that being said, I feel like what you described as the story, and then somehow having that catalyst, maybe it's just the reveal, maybe it's a reveal of a passion, because you are have revealed that passion to yourself, and kind of shifted something in your life, and even the recognition of, when I am in this position, I feel like the best version of myself. And the truth is that when someone feels that, it is wrong to deny that. Like in my opinion,
Dude,
it is
that's how it feels. It feels like I'm going against my nature if I were to deny cars. Like, I'm driving down the street. If I'm in any car driving down the street, I annoy all the passengers, because I'll see cars and I'll be like, guys, look at that one. Oh, that one's super rare. This one has all this stuff. And it, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, I think this is important because passion like that can manifest in so many different ways. For example, like I've fought, I've fought professionally before. And so as a fighter, that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to be a pro fighter all the time. Like, that's not that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fight for that to be in that business. As a matter of fact, that's the entertainment business. I'm still in the entertainment business. And when I want to, and I will do more pro fights, but when I do them, they're going to be on my own terms, because I recognize that my passion for martial arts, my passion for storytelling, and being able to share narrative and these wonderful principles that are in the martial arts, like, they all tie together. And so therefore, someone else's predetermined, like the box that people have built to house these passions, doesn't necessarily mean that I have to choose that box.
Yeah.
Or if you want to say that the target, if someone says, well, that's the target, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hit that target. You just aim for it, and you might overshoot, reach something that you never thought you'd ever reach. And you may undershoot, you may reach something that you're like, oh, wow, I'm actually really happy here, and I didn't hit that, but that's okay, because that's not really, it's just something to aim at. That's all a target is. So I think that when it comes to, I'm wondering, as a question now for you, how can you explore the passion for cars and racing in this character, in this storyline? Because I think that there's something there for you to uncover in your real life through this storytelling process, this story development process.
Are you asking how can I explore this passion through the character I've created, or through the storytelling process, regardless of the character?
So that's very great attention to detail.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify.
No, okay, so I'd say that so the story is a vehicle for the character development. The story is a vehicle for a message that you want to tell. The story for a message. Yeah. And I think that at the end of the day, the story, the message that we all really are going for is be the best version of yourself. So, I mean, like, because if we all did that, then the entire world would look and feel different. So with that said, and the fact that you obviously you're on this call, obviously the concept of being the Justice for Hire, shared universe and creating your own character and shooting cinematic stories on it, obviously that's attractive to you. So my question is, via your character, by portraying your character in stories that you are creating, cinematic stories, and you know, we can get to the detail of how each scene unfolds and all that other stuff later. That's more technical, but you've already been able to tell such a beautiful origin story for Lifeline.
Thank you.
So how does that continue, and what elements can you pull from your current interests out of character, you know, as Alec, out of character, saying, hey, and I pronounced that correctly, right, Alec?
Alec, yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Sorry.
so I'm wondering what do you want to, it's not so much what do you want to explore more in life that this storytelling platform can help you explore, you know, like what,
you know what would be fantastic, you know, the message that I wish I could just put into everyone's brains that some people just straight up don't get, and that's just okay. That's how things are gonna that's how things work, that's how life works. But I wish that I could tell people that your car does not have to be a point A to point B, that there's so much that happens behind there. A car represents your freedom. A car represents, you know, it can represent a coming of age. It can represent, you know, who you are as a person. I don't know if you've ever seen my car. Like if you've ever looked at my Instagram, it's a bright yellow, super loud hatchback, and it is perfect because everyone knows when I show up. Hey, there he is. Everyone knows when I show up. Everyone knows when I'm there. They all know. They all go, hey, Alex here. They know.
Oh my God.
And I love that.
Wow.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one. That's Focus ST.
Dope.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. It's giving me a little trouble right now. It's in the garage. She's grounded. But yeah, that's the one.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Super great.
Just
follow on here.
I just wish that I could show people that, even if they choose to do nothing with that information. I just wish that people would look at their cars a little differently, not just like machines, but because the people who love cars, for people who put Hot Wheels on their walls in their 20s, cars are so much more than that. They are living, breathing things. We can hear them speak to us when we're behind the wheel. We can feel them talk to us when we're laying in our bed at night and they say, you know what would look sick on my car? And then we have to get up and we have to research it right then. This is like, there's a passion there, and you can use your car for so many different facets of your life that it doesn't have to be just transportation. It doesn't have to be a financial burden. At least always, most of the time they are, but it doesn't have to always be that, you know, there is more beyond that. Have you ever thought that every road that you see on the street, every road that you drive every day can take you anywhere on this continent, basically anywhere on this continent, you can hop in the car and drive there. And you know what? Nothing else is going to give you that kind of freedom like your own car. And that's just how it is. And I wish that more people could understand that. I wish that more people could experience that. I wish everyone was fortunate enough to have their own car, but in actuality, that isn't the case. But I have a burning desire to tell people this.
So this is amazing, and yeah, like the short tangent I'll take is that what you're describing, the feeling you're describing, is the feeling of calling, and that is something that anybody that has answered the call will know. So whether you're a musician or you're an architect or
I've always wanted to learn to play drums.
Whatever it is that you do, martial artist, filmmaker, it doesn't matter, computer programmer, when you align with that calling and you just start to feel and hear things. So I think it's really, really powerful what you're saying. And that manifests, that feeling. I actually believe that every single human being on earth actually receives that information at all times. It's just a matter of how clear you are, and how trained you are to listen, how sensitive you are for yourself. And so given that it manifests differently in everybody, that it manifesting through you in the passion for cars, to me, is amazing. And so now I'm wondering, with this passion for cars, what specifically and I'm asking out of character right now, what specifically do you want with cars? Like, well, what would you like to be doing with cars in particular?
You know, it's such a hard question for me because if I'm doing car stuff, I'm happy. Like my mom will be like, "Hey, I need someone to go to Publix," and I'm like, I'm going right now." So I can get in the car and drive 10 minutes down the street because it's that good to me. But if I could, I mean, if I'm doing anything, and we're talking like, are we talking like money isn't an object here, or are we talking like
In my mind,
careers?
so in my mind, it's really more so. I always think money should always be a
A
far
secondary, yeah.
like third, fourth, fifth. It's just like,
Ooh.
you know, if we think money first, we're normal, in my opinion, normally just you know, unless you're one of those people who perceives cash as a game, which means that they're following they're calling to the game, you know, and that's
To the
great.
game.
To the game,
You
you know.
already
So
know.
there are folks that are like that, and that's great. But for me, it's like, you know, if your passion is not focused on money, you have to focus on the other thing, the actual passion
Yeah.
itself, the purpose, the calling, and the money comes. So
I
money,
completely
forget money.
understand that because a million people would ask me, "Where's the money in a 90s Japanese shitbox?" And I would say, "You can't see it, but I can. I can see the potential in that car. I look at a car and it's got like some nice patina on it, and I can see the nice paint under it. I can see the nice paint. I can see it on coils. I can see it with wheels. And I think most car guys can. I think it's just a natural thing that comes to I want to say car people, not car guys, but car people. I think it's something that comes to them. But but I think if I'm doing anything, if there's something I really want to do with cars, I want to be, I think I want to be the best. I want to be known as that guy. You know what I mean? I want people to say, well, we need a driver, you know, and they're like, oh, well, you know, Alec, that's the guy, you know, or, you know, who builds the best car? Who is the best tuning shop? Oh, that's Alec. You guys should go to One Up Performance. They're so sick. That's my concept idea for the tuning company that I have in my head.
That's great,
One Up Performance,
or
or maybe Plus One Speed, like a video game.
okay, yeah, I like the one up from the lives. Yeah,
It's
but
cool.
I like all of this. Love everything you're saying, man. So this is, so it sounds like you're. It sounds like there's still a lot on the journey, and then you know, offline, like I said, I have an introduction that I want to make for you of a pro racer.
Yeah.
But that being said, it sounds like there's a lot of room for exploration here. And because of that, you know, as you so beautifully put it, you know, any road can take you anywhere. And I think it's really, really interesting when we have the opportunities. For example, I want to learn traditional Chinese medicine. I grew up with traditional Chinese medicine. You know, my family's first, my first Tai Chi teacher, my father's first like Chinese Neigong teacher is still my teacher, you know? And so I grew up with this as a major component of my life, but I've always known I need to learn it. But, and as a matter of fact, the previous version of my character, going to bring you back to this, practiced traditional Chinese medicine, but I didn't know it. So it made it more challenging for me to write. And so there was a level of inauthenticity there that I was like, man, this doesn't feel right for me yet. And how do I come with, especially today, in today's, you know, in the market today, like authenticity is actually so important because people can smell it when it's not there. And so I was happy to be feeling that for myself, and then recognizing that what I'm seeking is the most authentic version of myself, and what the market wants is the most authentic version of myself. So I'm getting the message from every direction, go with that. And so I do have intention to bring that back into my character, but I want to do it in a way and the way that our current story is set up, our storytelling platform, like, the Justice for Hire app, etc., it's set up for me to do that, to tell the story as I go and as I learn.
Yeah.
So back to your character, back to Lifeline, it sounds to me like you have this foundation set up, and whatever you shoot, because what you've already done a lot of development work. So it seems to me that if you were to shoot one video, let's say, of Lifeline, crossing the street and helping somebody and then crossing back, all of your development work plays into your performance. It plays into that story.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you shoot with Lifeline, you have your backstory. But when it comes to this new version of you, of Alec out of character, and how that relates to the new version of Lifeline in character, the process that you're going to go through is going to be mutually beneficial to both the in character and out of character. And I think that a lot of the exploration that's still there for you. And I know you have something to say, because I want you to say it.
Yeah, I just had like a cool idea. That's all.
Go
ahead. I'll remember it.
Okay, all I'm getting at is that the exploration personally out of character can influence the exploration in character. And I think that just taking that approach, and maybe you already knew that, but I think that approach in and of itself, saying, well, like, and even using the character itself to play with things that you might not play with in real life, saying like, okay, well, what if Lifeline did this for cars or that for cars? And the cool thing is about that is that the second you start thinking about that, one of the best things that has ever happened to me as a writer, because we are talking about, even if you're not writing it down, we actually are talking about writing. Yeah. And one of the best things that's happened to me in regards to writing is research. And one of the best things about research is that research can, if you allow it to, bring you to new relationships, to new people that you didn't know before, because they have information that you need to tell your story. So you have to go and talk to them. So I really think that where you are right now, and like I said, the introduction to Ryan Kerrison, that I'll make this week for sure, is just one example of, hey, I have new things to explore. And this should really just be the approach for living in general. If you have a question and you don't have anyone in your life that has the answer that you know directly, then you find the people that do have the answers and you just reach out to them. And more than likely,
you want to know something crazy? You want to know something crazy? I thought I didn't need anyone to teach me anything. Okay. No one. Right. One day, and I swear, like on this cool little emblem on my hat, I promise you that this happened one day. My girlfriend's car broke down in my driveway. And I was like, shit, we got to call a tow truck because I can't fix it. Right. Something was up with it. I thought it was a starter. And, this tow truck driver comes and he sees, at the time I had a 91 Mazda Miata MX-5. So little beater, 30-year-old roadster. Right. This guy sees the car and then he tells me that he races cars not even an hour or two away from me. And he's like, really? Or I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I've been racing cars for like, I don't know, 30 years, And I'm like, what? That's as old as my car. And he's like, yeah, man, you should come down sometime. And I didn't take the opportunity. I didn't tell him. I didn't say, hey, yeah, give me your number. Let me go see you race, teach me something about cars. I didn't say a word, right? A couple weeks pass, 3 weeks from then, I'm working my job at a car dealership. And this guy pulls up in this freaking NSX. And he's like, yeah, I was a professional racer in my youth. And I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me. And he's like, yeah, I did it professionally. And I also did some kart racing. And then by then I had realized the tow truck driver thing. And I said, hey, what's your best advice for me? How can I get to where you got? And he's like, seat time. He said, just seat time. He's like, just drive all the time. He's like, get behind the wheel, go do karting, do whatever you got to do, but do those things. And then I realized, I was like, the universe is sending me all these signs. I'm hearing a billion things from a billion different directions, and I would be stupid not to really take that passion seriously. And here I am today.
So, okay. So that's amazing. And I have something to add to that, but what was the idea that popped in your head when I was saying before?
Yeah. Okay. So what if, okay, this is just brainstorming. Okay. But like, what if Lifeline gets his ass kicked, goes home, he's thinking about quitting, and then his buddy is like, this guy's supposed to be like his mentor, like the person who teaches him how to be a hero, the person who teaches him to do the right thing. You know what I mean? The guide that kind of helps him dip his toes in the water. What if he says, the reason why you're losing like this, the reason why you're not helping anyone is because you keep trying to do it someone else's way, his dad's way, his father's way, and you need to do it your own way. And then he changes it up. I don't know, just a thought.
So I think that's great. And the you saying that made me think about that scene happening within a car during a drive.
That would be cool. That would be sweet.
And I have more ideas there in terms of potential casting and because there's so much could come of these of what we're doing, because like I said, we're this is a multi-year plan. And there's where I feel very, very blessed that I've worked long enough in entertainment that I feel like we can pull some amazing stuff off. So I don't even want to say what I'm thinking in terms of that, because it's too exciting.
Well, definitely don't say, because we're recording it. Yeah, want everyone to know it before it happens.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I need to send an email first. So, but what I'm getting at is but remind me about that too. But if always ask me afterward. But so I think that's great, and I think that there are look from a storytelling standpoint, it's essentially that scene happens, and then you think about what happens next, right? So what are the things that start to pull Lifeline into the world of cars, and maybe and it could be as simple as him. It's really starting to think about like the ways to show the things that you care about, like ways to show that this new thing is coming up in your life. And I'm happy to have conversations about that and what kind of scenes that can work there. I'm happy to work with you on shot listing those scenes. In other words, like once you come up with the idea for the scene, you're like, okay, this happens, this happens, this happens. Okay, cool. How do you tell that in simple shots? Because you don't need any special effects. All you need to know is essentially, and eventually our app will help walk you through this, but essentially like what shots tell your story. Yeah. That's really all you need. And it's, and from there, it's, then there's the ending process, but like one thing at a time, so.
Yeah. I always hated that about telling stories, that we like when it comes to like, if you were writing a TV show, right? Let's say that you were writing a TV show and your idea was, I want this to have, however, like I want this to have be an ongoing series. Why would you come up with the end already? When you could give yourself so much more room with having like an open-ended idea where you can allow the characters to move and grow and build, a story that doesn't feel like something planned out, isn't going to be predictable, because it's not. It's more like real life than it is a construct or a story.
I think that's a really important perspective to have to storytelling, and I think that there is, to a certain extent, there are patterns happening. Every person is a pattern, a collection of patterns. So, in that sense, there is a certain level of predictability as well, as much as there is. It's kind of like we live in a world of duality. Where like, good needs evil and all this other stuff. So it's like, it's.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So all I'm getting at is that the open, while we are evolving, we have a comic book series. Like there are aspects of the comic book that are helping us to plan out our multi-season experience, but we're not so. It's essentially that we know that we're going somewhere.
Yeah.
And we're going to a place. I can say it right now. We're going to a global like heroes culture where
Yeah.
we're all united on a single app, and that injustice can't hide. So it's as simple as that. And it started here in the U.S. It started in New York, and we started building out from there. Now we have, like, you're
You
in
know
Florida.
what, though? What's crazy is that we are going to a global hero culture. I mean, everyone can speak about anything at any time, all the time. It's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Absolutely. And so what we're doing with our show, perfectly timed, is that we're essentially, like we've said in the past, 5 days, 5 days in the future sci-fi. Like, this
Yeah.
is sci-fi, but it's 5 days in the future. Like, we're really, like, to have the conversations that we're having in culture, there, and we have to be able, as a community and as storytellers, be able to navigate a future that is so close. And storytelling actually helps you do that, whether you're journaling or
Yeah.
like, so we're doing this in a really interesting way. But I want to, so when it comes to Lifeline, I feel like, and I'm happy to explore more of the next scenes that you might. I also have a question about, like, any content that you might want to shoot now or in the coming days. But before we
Yeah.
even say any of that, I want to just touch on one point, because it keeps on popping up in my head, is the importance of collecting mentors. And it's just one of the most important things that I've ever heard in my life. And it's something that I did naturally, but until I heard someone, unconsciously and naturally, until I heard someone say it. And someone said, you have to collect mentors and advisors. You have to ask people to be your mentors and advisors. You have to directly go to them and say it. And that's a very particular relationship. And those relationships last oftentimes a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really important, because when you get people that come your way, that are associated with your passion, they can unlock doors for you that otherwise may just take much longer, or may not happen. So, and it's also important to recognize that these people, as wonderful as they are, and as they can very much be allies for an entire life, they don't necessarily need to stay in your life for your entire life. They can be in certain chapters of your life. They can go out and come back in.
My mom says that about girlfriends.
It's I think it's, I mean, yeah,
it's true, but
it's so I think it's really, really important to recognize. I have people who I have some people that I call former mentors, because they may have done something that they helped me to a certain place in my life, and then they might have done something that I felt was inherently out of alignment with how I want to be as a human being.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, and then gauging whether or not I want that influence in my life anymore. I'm like, I don't know if that's cool.
Yeah.
Hold on, that's not cool. I'm going to have to distance myself from that person. Like, all of those things are options.
That can be really hard to do.
Absolutely.
I think especially after someone teaches you, after you grow some kind of bond with someone, maybe a teacher student, it's disheartening when someone, strays from the path,
Well, the path is different than the person.
It is
so important. Like no person is the path. Like, the path is inside every one of us, and it's our own path. That's the thing that calls to you at night and helps you get out of bed to go and execute. So it's just like, okay, like, you have a path, and every one of us is fortunate to be on to who connects with you is fortunate to be connecting with you in that moment. And I feel the same with every person in my life. I'm like, okay, everyone's actually fortunate, and so am I. And so we're all really, really, really blessed to be together on our own journeys, our collective journey. So I just wanted to touch on that, because hearing you say multiple times, these people came across, each one is a potential mentor, or maybe they were just signs for you, saying like, hey, when this happens the third time or fourth time, whatever,
for
really
real, real. I wake up every morning and I'm like, damn, I really let those people just walk away. And
it's okay. It's okay. Like everything's good. You're on the right path, and so like I said,
Thank you.
we'll follow. Yeah, absolutely. That's obvious and absolute.
You know
So
what? You know what? I as someone who doesn't know what they're really supposed to do with their life yet, it's really reassuring when someone tells you, "Hey, you're doing good. You're fine."
oh
Because
yeah.
not a lot of people tell you that kind of thing.
Oh no,
I
dude,
appreciate that. Thank you.
trust
That's
me.
what I'm saying.
I've been in that exact position where I'm like, man, and I'll say one more thing and I'll say his name, Don Ketchy. Don Ketchy said this to me, and Don is a significant member of ASCAP, the music organization,
I don't. I'm not
and
familiar.
it's in the music rights, etc. ASCAP, BMI. These are, if you're a musician or a singer, artist, songwriter, etc. You probably know about these organizations that help to enforce your rights as a music professional.
Okay.
But Don Ketchy once told me that sometimes I'm going to misquote him now, but essentially the spirit of what he was saying was that the progress, because you're in it, can seem so slow, and you may forget to give yourself the congratulations that you deserve on the path.
You're gonna make me cry.
It's super.
You're gonna make me cry.
It's super important. It's super important to remember that you're not only are you doing a great job, and you're doing, like, as long as you're checking in with yourself, as long as you're checking in with reality, and not reality as in what people are telling you you're supposed to do, but what feels right here, and how the world reacts to what feels right inside of you. As long as you pay attention to that connection, because something may feel right here, people are saying no, that might just mean I need to move this way. And it's a totally different feeling than what feels right in here. You may think you're right, but the feeling, like, you actually get a physical reaction in your body. But so you have to be so cognizant of that. Like, and some people say it's in the heart, some people say it's in the belly, but as long as you're checking in with that feeling, and then using the intellect to help dissect it, and then say, okay, well, this feels right. I'm hearing these things intellectually, and reality is responding this way. Let me go over here. Oh, you know what? I found where the water can flow, where that feeling inside of me can flow. It's you're doing the right thing.
Real quick, I'm sorry. I just want to say, I think a really good example, I think my best example of cars being more than the point A to point B is that my biggest progress report for myself is what is my car looking like right now? Like, because that is kind of like how I test myself. I add the new mod, or I get in the garage and I do the detailing, or I clean it. And I'm like, if I can keep this thing looking nice, and I can make it better, and I can, bring that image from here to here, then I'm doing fine. And, something feels right about waking up every morning and seeing that car. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, I mean, look, man, I'll say this. I feel like the path, it's in the process of revealing itself, or should I say, like, you have a general direction now, and it's been there. It's not because of this call, but you have this direction of where, dude, it feels right.
I don't know, man. What you said earlier, I swear, I almost cried. I was like, man, I needed to hear that.
Oh, so what I think that when it comes to, obviously, please explore that passion of yours for the benefit of all mankind. Like really explore that passion for all of us. And when it comes to your character in JFH and the story, I really think that I'd be interested to know from you, and you don't have to answer this right now, it might be a brainstorm thing, but what is a short scene, a short moment? Doesn't even have to be doesn't have to be dialogue or anything, but what is a short moment that can show Lifeline as he is today, or the day that you film it? Like, what is that scene? What is that moment that contemplation, because all of your backstory, all that stuff that you said can make it into whatever that moment is. That moment could be as simple as you looking into the distance, or into or at an object. Maybe it could be looking at the kit your father made.
You know what, dude?
And a car and a toy car.
Dude.
So
I know the scene. I know the scene because I see it in my head all the time. I see it in my head every single day. And you know what? More than that, I live it. And I'll tell you when I live it. When I'm behind the wheel and it's 2 a.m. at night and I've got my favorite song playing, I can see the GoPro camera that I can put right there on my A pillar, and the music playing over the track and me just driving down the road. You can hear the car. That's the moment I want to capture. I know that aesthetic. I know that the feeling that I would like to portray in the scene. It's one of those things. It's a feeling thing.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, I would like, the feeling does so much for story, because without the feeling, people don't remember the story. Oftentimes they remember the feeling, especially when it comes to movies. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, I remember this, I remember that. But what people really hits us is the feeling. It's when Captain America grabs Thor's hammer, it says Avengers Assemble.
See, that reaction that I just had.
Yeah.
It's that reaction that I just had.
It's the feeling. It's just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So.
Oh my God. I can remember the smile on my face when I saw that.
I literally, like, I had tears going down my face.
I know, it was so cool. It was sick.
Well, man, I mean, like, I would, if you can set up GoPro and like shoot that and
I can.
Like, that would be amazing. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I would love to, because I am concerned, like, and I wouldn't say this to most heroes, because eventually we'll have music playing in our
I can keep the music out of it.
Well, I'll say this: I can actually send you music that's being produced for our series, that you can choose something, and so I think that would be really, really amazing if you want to blast that music. And then from an editing standpoint, I am fine. Like, if you were to send me, like, if you're not into editing, like, you could send it to me. If you are into editing and you want to do that,
you know what? I can't edit, but my 17-year-old little brother can. So I can ask him, see if he's into it, if he wants to edit it. But if not,
that'd be
then
amazing,
I'm going to have to reach out to you, because I can't edit.
Absolutely. Until our app puts stuff together for you, which it eventually will. Like our team, we are available. Like there's only so much we can actually handle in terms of capacity, but it's like, okay, well, like, if someone needs some help, we're here. So,
that just reminds me, and maybe I could show you after this, but I recorded something, me sim racing, like, just in game. And it kind of like has that feeling to it. I synced it up with a song that I picked, and this isn't something that has to go anywhere. So I guess the song doesn't really matter, but I'd like to show it to you.
I would love to see it,
so that I can kind of articulate that feeling, if that's okay.
If you could set it, like, I do have to jump in a couple of minutes. So if you could send me the clip, I would love to watch it. But I'd say this, that for the GoPro scene, the ideal would be to have, I mean, if you have, for example, I shot myself driving this weekend by sticking my phone on like in the dashboard, and I just pressed record, and then I could focus on the road and I didn't have to think about it. Yeah. So I thought that was great, and it's a great shot. But and of course I did this for JFH. So, but that being said, that if you have multiple cameras, in other words, you have a GoPro that can get whatever shot that you think is great, and then a counter shot, meaning that we can see you and the expression on your face. Like, those are the two things, like, shot and counter shot really establish context. So if we can see just your passion as this focus is happening, this moment that you're in your zone, I think that's really going to be the one of the most valuable things we can have. And it could be something where if you only have one camera, you face it, toward the road once, and then you drive again, and you face it toward you. As long as you're always safe, and when you're doing this, I think that's gonna be great.
I've got the one GoPro, but like I said, I am not above being in the car for a while, so I don't mind doing multiple shots. I'm thinking a pillar on the hood facing the windshield,
Wow.
like in the wheel well. Because I get this, my car is a manual. Okay.
Wow.
So I'm like, wah, wah, when I'm driving. So I think it would be pretty cool to get some shots of the shifter, my feet doing the thingies down there.
Dude, so one more thing to this, because that's amazing. If you can get all those shots again safely for like, that's amazing. The last thing I would say that would be really
safely, please.
Yeah, I mean, please don't do it in traffic. Just do it where you are the safest possible.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, but I'm saying that what would be really valuable is potentially for you to write a voiceover, because you have this wonderful setup.
Dude, I'm in. Look at this.
Exactly. You have that wonderful setup, and so like a really, doesn't have to be long, but a voiceover just talking about where you are in life, and especially in the context of the character, being able to even connect moments of your backstory in that voiceover to where you're going. I think it's going to be super valuable for the story itself.
I think I see it. I don't know if you get like what I'm trying to say, but like I see the vision, like I see
you
the
driving,
value in
it. Like different shots, voiceover.
Yeah, I'm imagining the street lights, like flying back the light, you know what I mean, rolling through
with great music. It's just gonna, and we have like two top producers
fantastic
making music for us, and this is and just so you have insight into this, like JFH is all done on, like, we're not funded by any particular company, like this is like, we literally, these are all friends of mine, the entire network, they're friends of mine. And so
we're friends, right? I think we're friends.
Absolutely, brother. And so it's just to me, it's just like, hey, like, we have great quality, great human beings that also have achieved like wonderful things in their passions. And so they're sharing their skill sets with our community. And that's when I say, like, producer like Sage Michael, who's doing the new like Jim Jones album. If I say like, I don't know if that's been announced yet, so forget I said that. But
dude, you're recording this.
But or Angel Spit, who you may have met, who's like the world's leading cyberpunk band. They're doing all of our
there's such thing as a cyberpunk band. I love cyberpunk. That's like my favorite kind of genre. Cyberpunk. What?
Dude, I mean, go check out Angel Spit. They're doing our entire sound. They're scoring our entire
I'm writing
series,
it down right now. Hold on. Where's my phone?
Yeah, Angel Spit. Like, I highly recommend checking them out immediately. And they're wonderful. And the head of the band is a dear friend as well. So
all right.
Yeah, check it out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna check that out right after this.
So, but dude, thank you so much, man, for taking time and sharing.
Of course.
And this is it means so much to me personally to hear when people have given so much wonderful thought to their characters like you have, and have like true clear motivation, and also the ability to be malleable as they change, the character can change. As a matter of fact, in my experience, the character can actually push me to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, when I played Bernardo in West Side Story, and before that, I didn't think I could dance for shit. But now I can break dance. Like, awesome. What? So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, dude, I'm hoping that I'm hoping your girlfriend feels better within the next day.
Me too.
Tonight. And I'm sending so much love out to you, man. It's like,
Thank you.
This means a lot. Like I said, I'll put this on YouTube in a bit. If not tonight, then tomorrow.
Well, if anything, what I really hope comes out of this is I'm able to help someone else sort of get through the process on their own, and making their own character. Hopefully they can see some of the stuff that, that I'm thinking and think, well, I've also gone through that. or I've also thought of these kind of things, and they would, hopefully that helps them.
Dude, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of recording these things. It's so that others can benefit from it. And it doesn't. This is my new saying for the week. Every week I upgrade and update a saying, but it doesn't matter if you're right. It matters if your rightness benefits others. So that's my new thing.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. I like that.
Dude, so thank you so much. I'm gonna press stop on this recording and